So with what I like to do is this topic is very close to my heart. Why I really believe that product management is the dream job. I've been myself in the industry for 16 years now, and I wanted to pass on few takeaways. Especially, I have started with as a product person, you can say, not really as a product manager. Journey started as a startup. So I finished my degree in the UK. I finished my masters, and then I decided I should do something in education. This was back in the days when Baiju wasn't in the service, or there was no tech in India. It was back in 2007 when I started. So first startup led to the second startup. First startup I learned a lot. I didn't really do much. I just kept on building things. Could not sell it on time. And the second startup we were acquired by Pearson. That is where we achieved the product market fit. So fast forward, these roles actually helped shaping up one, right? Because what startup can teach you, especially in the early days, give you a 360 degree in your career, right? What one can anticipate. Second, that role sort of led to a role in product manager role in Red Hat, which took me to US. I was leading one of their platform, which is called Red Hat OpenShift. If any of you are from the cloud domain, then you would know you are okay. So, okay, yeah, very nice, very nice. So pretty much I was the second product manager who was hired to productize the OpenShift product. So started writing from peer FAQs. I'm sure some of these terms would be easy for you to grasp now as you have been in the class. So that really taught me in the 5 years in the journey, I guess. So all these roles in Red Hat, Teradata, Tesco, and then Cisco, and now in JIO. When I joined JIO last year, I didn't think I will land a job of a CPO. I started as a VP. I was heading a 2, 3 products actually to begin with, right? I had an aspiration, but I never thought that in 8, 9 months I would be able to land, right? So maybe some of these learnings I like to share this afternoon, and also, you feel free to ask me any question. What I like to do is today sort of lay out few frameworks, and these frameworks nobody taught me. What I've realized that if one had provided me 15 years ago, things would have been different for me as well. So these are some my authentic framework I had came up with, and you already gave good introduction of mine. So I guess before I jump in, I like to understand a little bit about the class. Who you are. So maybe give me a sense of who has been already playing a product management role or in a product manager role, right? In whether it is a now companies might call it program manager, like Microsoft calls program manager. Some may call product owner. But what you're learning, if you can associate with that role, maybe just raise your hand. That way, I get a good sense who are playing this. So about little about 20%, 20, 25% in the class. Yeah. Okay. We are missing out the online folks. Hopefully, yeah. Yeah. So about 25%, and the rest of you come from what tech domain, sales domain. Can you also maybe share from your colleagues? Tech.
Tech.
Right. That's great. So you have been very close to the customer in that sense, right? Right. And how many from tech?
Tech.
Majority. So majority from tech. So about 40, 45% from tech. Right. Right. Cool. No, that's really good. So about 25% from roughly about 25% from some sort of product role. So you are here to, I guess, to advance your career, right? So I want to also understand the intention. And the folks from the tech side want to be able to get into product management domain. That is my understanding. So I think I probably got it covered, I believe. But feel free to jump in. I like to have this session more very interactive, so I don't want to do much of a slideshow. So quick things about me. I guess not about my CV. So this is about I work for Jio, and I'm really proud of being associated with Jio. Maybe about 2016 when Jio was in the market, I never have imagined I'd be working for Jio. I was thinking, I'd be working for Cisco, Red Hat, some of the enterprises. But then Jio completely changed India. how Indians used to use internet or data. I'm really thrilled about it, and in the company there is a lot of transformation going on, right, in terms of the kind of product books we want. So I think this way I might also find some talent. Who knows, right? Uh, my love for writing turned into a passion. I have been a very unorganized author, I have to say. I have some blogs, some LinkedIn posts. So one day, one of my friends told me, if you really like to do that, why don't you write something? Like actually start writing a book. So a lot of people gave me idea, let's go Medium, LinkedIn. Then I felt, 1 week I took a break. So I spent about 6 days, ended up writing the book. I know this might sound really, really silly, right? I mean, for a lot of people, but that's what it is, right? So the constant pursuit, because what happens when you have already thought through everything, if you want to put down the thought, it doesn't take much time. You can still finish it. So about 6 days, I was able to finish it. Of course, book publishing takes longer time, but that has also taught me a little bit. And I'll also share the journey we made in the end. I actually productized the book. So we have this morning we have about 9,998 copies. So we'll be soon reaching 10,000 milestone. So very close to 10,000 mark. All organic marketing. Father of 4-year-old, I have a daughter, and my spouse is a techie. I think by now you realize I love building products, and we'll see more of that. I am passionate about people. I mean, that is where I think all my roles and whatever I have achieved so far, it came through people, right? And so some of my superstar product managers, they have started from some Walmart, some Flipkart, some startup. Some of them landed into FANG companies. So some of them now working in Google, Facebook, and I'm still not there. So that really makes me very proud, right, when I look at it. And then I think all of us are pretty much well versed of the tech part. Exciting stuff going on the metaverse, Web3, AI. And one of my bosses in JIO, he actually wrote a book in metaverse. So something I would also like to share with you guys. Maybe take a look. So we are authors. So anyway, I'll probably skip this. But by now, the reason I want to show you this, maybe not on the what kind of things I did on the product side, maybe you know the transitions in every role, right? So if you started as a co-founder, then as a product manager in the IC roles. So all the roles, almost all the roles, maybe apart from the last 2 roles or 3 roles, I have started as an IC and then ended up becoming a people manager through product, right? So all these products like Red Hat OpenShift contributes about 50% of the Red Hat business. So from $0 to about $1.7 billion in 4.5 years. Teradata joined as an IC, ended up launching a cloud SaaS for them in all 3 platforms. Again, brand new business for them. Again, these roles are IC role to leader roles. And maybe some of you are already thinking, how do I advance my product area? So maybe something will come across very, very soon. What kind of skill set, apart from what you're probably already hearing, product market fit, go to market, MVPs, right? All these common terms. But beyond that, what do you need to do to get into these roles? So we'll talk through that today. In Cisco, I used to head their Cisco WebEx platform, the API platform. So I was a global head there, and there I used to manage a product team of folks from Stanford in the US, uh, folks from Belgium, folks from Australia, Japan, and India. And that really taught me, I felt. It's like I have met people who have 26, 27 years of experience, and they have been doing products. So how do you manage them? Right? It's very hard to manage them. I mean, they are experts. So how do you manage an expert? Right? I think that might this introduction might sort of give you the segue into how to lead seniors or maybe super seniors, right? So that's how the journey has been. And I think I'll skip my due introduction. I think, but more or less, one thing I like to start before I jump into the product side. I think a lot of people might not have realized this. About 2015, an average Indian used to use less than 250 MB data a month. Data used to be really expensive. In 2014-15, I was in Boston. I used to work for Red Hat in US. So their data was super expensive. I used to use Verizon, AT&T, or her service used to be like super expensive, $100 a bill. यहाँ पे I pay 999 rupees for JIO, and I'm getting a 300 Mbps connection with some 300 GB data. So it has really transformed India, right? Because that really pushed the other telcos to also make it cheaper. Now, what really has happened by doing that? If you in a country solve sustainable problem and connectivity, it creates entrepreneurs, right? You're able to give education, access to education. You're able to give access to legal. You're able to give people to government. So that is what has really propelled over the last few years, right? Uh, it's not about just people coming and investing money at Indians in India, right? That is not the case. Indians are building great products. Investors are finding it lucrative, so things are happening, right? So you'll be surprised at this point in time, average Indian use per month is around 20 GB, single person. And you'll be also surprised that 60% of that goes into audio video streaming, right? Now, a lot of people might be doing Instagram, a lot of people might be doing Netflix, a lot of you are studying in Zoom, right? So all those things are happening, right? So really, really change user behavior, right? So for product managers, from a good one to great one, because good ones, what they do, they sort of ask for requirements, right? They say, okay, tell me the requirements, I will go build it. So what is this? When you ask for requirements and go build it, you are doing a delivery job, right? So then you are not playing the product manager role. So today's discussion is going to be very interactive and very example specific like this, right? So I will not go through read the slides, but you are able to connect this, right? In all your jobs you did, for many part, somebody from the top came and said, okay, I want this customer to do this. I am super boss. I'm asking you to do this, right? But how do you build a product which will be successful if you follow that route? Probably not, right? So you'll be losing speed. You'll be losing the intent of the customer. You'll be not able to capture the user behavior. So to become a good to great product manager, one of the real art is to understand, to be able to pretend, trends with less access on information, because everybody have access to lots of data, right? Then lots of hypothesis testing, all these things have already happened. By then you're already late to capture the trend, right? So I know I have met a lot of recruiters from tank companies. Nothing against them. I mean, they are some of them are already my partners. But especially on the recruitment side, how it works is they say you go through all the interviews, right? So they will ask you all the structure questions. So that's what I liked about what Pinkett said. It's not about the structure approach or building a framework or getting a job in Google or Facebook. It's about building your own company, right? Solving problem, deep problem for India. So what really you really done here, if you really look at it, solve some deep problem for Indians. But before you get serious, I think some of you might have seen these pictures, right? Maybe you would associate, but apart from maybe few people in my home, a lot of people don't understand what I do for many years. Okay. So they will be like, you're always in phone calls or some conference. Maybe you are just talking to some folks in US and you are just doing something, some another software engineer with different job title, right? That is the fun part. So my friend thinks, I'm a packager. Basically, I get all the non techie friend, right? He thinks I get all the information from everything. So my role is like a sales job. I package it and I sell it. Nothing is sales. What my mom thinks, she thinks, oh my beta, मेरे बेटा कुछ बड़ा कुछ कर रहा है, Steve Jobs बन गया, right? So she will be associating myself with Steve Jobs. Society, this fellow from IIM or some ISB, my neighbor or something, they will think, I do what I'm doing marketing, you are doing product, what are you doing? That means you are doing some back end job, right? So again, this is all society perceptions, but I think now it has really changed in the last 3-4 years, right? If you really look at it, lot of already, I think lot of build-up is happening in the college stage. I have been into ISB, IIM and few universities, and folks are getting smart, right? But what exactly I do is basically on the further right. If you look at it, it is a mess, right? Because as a CPO or as a head of other heads, right, who are already head, what are you gonna do? If you tell them what to do, they'll feel bad, right? If you tell them what is your vision of JIO, they will also feel bad about it because they're already having a product vision or their old vision. So we'll come to that part. But from now on, for the next, let's say 15 minutes, we will talk about why I really believe this is a dream job. So any dream job, what is a definition or acceptance criteria of a dream job? Let's ask one of you. Maybe can you tell me what is the definition of your dream job? I'm sure if all of you have thought about, why don't you tell me? What's your name? Hmm. Hmm. No fun, yeah. So I picked up three themes. Some kind of ambiguity, some behavior of risk. You talked about also about access to information. I think that is a really key, right? A lot of us feel that, right? And the third is really having that fun. I think the fun element, right? Anyone else have any insights or different point of view? Yeah, sure.
Like okay, getting up early in the morning and beating up Bangalore traffic and landing up there all energetic.
Exactly.
So that and the crowd, obviously the work is there, you won't deny. But then these two things would definitely make me push. I stay in South Bangalore to, and if I have my office in Whitefield, I would need these two things to push me to drive all the way from South Bangalore to Whitefield.
Absolutely, and great point. I think that's already I probably captured. I think that's really coming up. Both of your points and your point, which is about something which really pushes me to come. Right? Maybe that's what vision is, right? If a vision is okay, something you can achieve tomorrow, is there a product vision? Some of you already are product managers, right? Might have written some vision statement to make your boss happy or your client happy, which is like, okay, I'll put something and put some roadmap. Okay, tomorrow I achieve my vision. So what is then company's vision? What is product vision? It's really something which constantly pushes you to come to job, come to office, pushes your colleagues to come to office. So that makes it good to great product manager, right? So we talked about discovery, we talked about user behavior. Now we talk about vision, right? Now that takes time. Vision building takes time, right? I think you wanted to say as well.
Well, I was saying that as long as from a dream job perspective, if
Yeah.
I have the motivation
Yeah.
to go uh, and go to the workplace and work, that's one dream job in its own right. As long as that inclusion is there, I know that I am also part of that strategic vision for an
And you can make a
organization,
difference.
and I can make a difference.
Yeah.
And if I've made a difference, then I'm also accounted for it, and I've been given that recognition
Right.
also, right? So that
Right.
also changes the game.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sure. Sure. Okay, sure. Hmm. Fantastic. Yeah. Sure. Right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No, I totally echo that, what you said.
yeah. I just add few points, right? For
Just,
me,
just 1 second. I think you want to. Yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah.
For me, the dream job is that whatever work I'm doing, right, that should create some form of impact on anybody who I'm working for. And that impact should be actually relevant, and it should be visible enough to see that, okay, this is the work I'm doing and this is the impact it is creating for either on one person or group of people.
So that you don't have to go through that slide which I was showing you, where I have many faces, including the monkeys, what I do, right? I think that is really great. It's about the impact. It's about either your friends or maybe society, right? Somebody accepting it. How much delight it is, right? When you see a friend of yours using your product and they're happy, right? So I live in Prestige, and in the tower, people have been saying, okay, Airtel, so many issues we are facing. But for last 2 years, we have never seen like one time as well, like not a single minute we had a downtime. That is fantastic. I never told them I offered you. I was just hearing, I was like, must. Because if I tell them I'm from Jio, they will come and complain me. I wanted to avoid that, but but I was very happy inside out, right? So that is exactly what is. What about you?
Yeah, so I just want to say about the dream job is like I should feel challenged every day morning, and at the end of the day, I should deliver the challenge, and I can say to myself that I have really have achieved 1 mile, and obviously a period of some time. So once I deliver, so I know that I am keep growing every day, and at the end of the product, if I look at the outcome or end thing, right? So whenever people use that, they should have a delight on their face, and they say, "Who has done this?" And that is the achievement. Sometimes people don't know. Maybe like iPhone, a lot of
Absolutely.
people as holding in the hand don't know who Steve Jobs is, but who have done it really done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So that gives a huge thing. Most of the common people, like not like a people in corporate or whoever, so but the people on the street, right? So that is what the all about dream job. And obviously in the corporate, if I look at, so I look at like the people should be taking you as a admirable with respect to if somebody think about the job they want to do, they say, okay, that could be the one of the kind of framework that can be used for somebody to resonate. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of your points are similar and make sense. Any of your people managers here who manage like a team? Yeah. So about good solid 30% people managers or 25, 30%. Have you ever felt delighted when your team did something great?
Yeah, of course.
Does it push you to come to office?
Yeah.
So you are the product of your own what? Passion, effort. So you yourself is a version of the product, isn't it? Which is keep evolving over years and years, right? And then that you are passing on to your people.
Yeah.
Because we will be talking about it today, especially for leadership roles, right? From an IC role to transition to a senior role. How does the transition happen? And a small story. So on this exactly that excitement. So watch party, something like watch party. I think a lot of people might be watching Netflix or Amazon Prime. There is a small button they show co-watch with your friends and family, right? And this is all started during the COVID era, and then I think it has become a behavioral thing now for the users. So one of my teammates came to me one day and said he had an idea about watch party. He said we should do a watch party. I said, sure. What do you want to do it? I want to do it in Geo TV. So fine, let's do it. So how much month is going to take you to build? So 3 days. So you productize in 3 days. So build it, shipped it, and that was the moment why he chose 3 days. And I was not able to believe it that they'll be able to do 3 days because there was some India South Africa match was going on, very recent event, right? And I felt without any marketing advertisement, hardly people are going to even come and watch this watch party, right? I mean, who would go to some TV and check out there is a capability to do watch party, and you'll be surprised in 7 match days because of the behavior of doing something which has an impact, going to office early in the morning, and seeing people smile about the work you do, right? One day, one small smile about the user behavior using a product that makes your day. It's like all worth it, right? All the effort of 4 or 5 hours every weekend you guys are putting in, right? Every Saturday, every Sunday. It's really worth it. So that's why what makes a dream job is not about the money. But a dream job should also have some demand and supply, right? Otherwise, dream job matlab koi hire hi nahi karega. Nobody wants to hire you. There is no market. So those aspects, macroeconomy also plays a role. So that is why I had this topic in mind. Because if you look at every CEO's challenge today, 62% of global CEOs are looking at digital transformation. And this digital transformation, whatever the services company system integrators are selling you in 5 years ago, they were telling you to do digital transformation to save money. But I am not selling that because that has become old now, right? CEOs are smart. They have said, okay, 5 years ago, तुमने बोला save money तो मैंने कर दिया. So what is new? So new is, if you have really done that, now it is all about earning money, right? So digital has truly become your omni-channel. Whether you are buying medicine, whether you are buying some vegetables, whether you are ordering stuff in JioMart, you can go to WhatsApp and order the entire product catalog. My wife, she orders Blinkit left, right, center every day. So I told her, like, what's happening every day morning? Because that is the user behavior, right? And I was telling the same story to my friend. They were like, my wife also does it. Everybody does it. Why? 3 months ago, 6 months ago, you would not have thought about it. So dream job is also something which is really the point you made about self-sustainability, right? So something which really people can correlate in daily lives, right? I mean, of course, I have also worked on very technical platform like OpenShift. Now, I can't explain OpenShift to everybody at home. It's like, what the hell is this, right? And very hard for them to imagine and understand, but very easy to understand. If I say some JIO product, they will easily get it. So I think all of you have summarized all the points. Just one point I like to maybe add, and maybe you have already mentioned this. What's your name again? Mukul. So you mentioned about ambiguity and risk taking, right? So here I would like to say a job, if it is very something which you can foresee all the time, that's no fun, right? It's like very boring job. It's like I go to the job, I know what's going to happen in next 1 hour. Truly, I don't know these days. Like I don't know what's going to happen next minute. So something which is very, A/B testing in real life, I would say. It's not about A/B testing in products. That is not happening. So job which has experimentation and learning, instead of looking at it as a failure, and that's where articulation comes in, right? A product manager need to be a good communicator. So to get a dream job, somebody need to have the liberty to be able to explain what did we really learn and not what did we fail. Something which you are really learning an environment that makes the job really work, isn't it? But ultimately, it is all about this ecosystem, which I really believe in, right? I mean, end of the day, this needs to be there. Because you guys have talked about societal impacts, you are talking about Maslow, I think the pyramid, people should feel good about what I do. I should feel good. All these are very Maslow's psychology, which plays in. But then you like to be in a job where the pay is there, isn't it? Pay needs to be good. Let's be real, right? There should be good amount of jobs, and these are some actual data. I was just searching it. I was creating some of these slides. I added few slides this morning, and I was showing my wife that look, I mean, 430,000 jobs in Americas alone. In US alone, some 390,000 jobs. In India, 100,000 jobs. So just imagine how much jobs are there in Asia. Entire Europe has 100,000, 20,000 jobs. The funny thing is, if you search product management and select India, you will find 1.1 million people already. Somewhere associated with product management, which is really makes it really interesting. Now, this was not the story, right? Now, I'm sure if we do some deep learning on this, you might figure out, okay, out of 1.1 million, maybe 50% are product managers, 50% wants to contribute in product. But at least the momentum is there. You want to always invest your money in something where there is momentum. Nobody wants to invest their FDs in 1% interest, right? Everybody wants momentum, stock market kind of support. So you want to also put your career, your dream into something where there is a momentum. So momentum is there, jobs are there, pay is there, IPL like courses are there, right? People are able to write books. If I look at Google, if you go to Google today and just simply search product management courses in Bangalore, there are more than 2,000 courses, I can tell you, right? One way or the other. Udemy, you go and search 10,000 plus courses are there. So this ecosystem wasn't there. What I'm trying to say, any career when we build, so these indicators were not there 10 years ago. This was the scene for developers 10 years ago. All of you are like, I was a developer too for first 5 years, but I guess all of you would agree that that time open source, full stack development 10 years ago was a big thing. Now everybody does full stack. Nobody talks about full stack development, right? It's like a common thing. Now product management has become the pace of IT industry, right? So this is the momentum. This is the moment. And I think you guys are already ahead of the curve. You are able to figure out the trend. So I'm really proud and happy to see all of you in the class. And if a country has 1 million plus people showing interest in LinkedIn in some form of product management, then we must become an expert and not be a beginner. So I think that is also one of the reasons why you should pay attention. And this kind of the global terms, what kind of money, I think all of you would be able to do a better job on Glassdoor, but this is my version of truth. I have been researching these topics for several years now. So I think globally, this has been the trend. Not talking about product manager's job, because I believe after IPL, some of you who want to make an entry, you'll probably become a senior product manager, right? Because by now you would be doing a lot of capstone projects and things like that. So you'll be good enough to crack a senior PM job, right? So let's start with senior PM, 120,000 USD, right? Again, these are just range, but this gives you an idea, right? Because these salaries might be very different for companies who are hyper growth, companies who are fan companies, companies like even you'll be surprised to see a lot of Indian companies. They pay really well. Yeah, absolutely. But I
So
think,
I have a question.
yeah,
It's little high. So the question is like being an enthusiast for the product management, but as per your experience, like typically whenever you are attached to a domain and you have been kind of expert or much to that domain, once you try to shift from that domain to any other domain, for example, somebody in the core R&D for systems, and certainly the person wants to pursue the career in automotive or any other field they
so
were.
your question is if I'm from varied industry, I'm an expert of an industry or domain, then how do I pivot to another career?
Yeah, and is there any acceptance in the market in a similar fashion the way?
If I am accepted, I think you'd be surprised because I have never worked in one single domain, right? Never ever. And I think you can see from my LinkedIn itself, right? You can't correlate any company, right? And sometimes it can actually work in your favor. I think that has been my case. So I had zero understanding of retail. I don't know how I landed a job in Tesco, but I got it. I did pretty well there. Cisco, I was from Tesco when the hiring manager was interviewing me. He was like, "You are doing retail." I said, "But I did B2B, so I can do Cisco. What is the big deal?" So I did Cisco. Then in JIO, we don't believe in B2B BTC at all, right? So we play in platform. We are creating a social economic change in India, right? So I think that perception of industry solution has now gone away from the hiring manager's mind, right? Don't think about industry strength, your domain knowledge. What is the industry strength? So how have you ever thought about 10-minute startups, 10-minute delivery startup? Now imagine if somebody is a supply chain expert, the guys who actually build that is not a supply chain expert. So now question is, what did the supply chain expert did for so long, right? Now, I when I joined you, I was doing a lot of video conferencing stuff. So some virtual platform, hybrid platform I was building was also associated with GeoGlass and things like that. Now, metaverse, somebody doing OS, operating system, what would they do in metaverse? Just think about it, completely different technology, right? So that is a technology change. So change can happen either by technology, either by industry. And even this gentleman, he is doing hospitality, sales, and now focusing on some product management, right? So it is, I think it's all about pivot, right? And nobody, I think earlier also, maybe about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I used to see a lot of jobs used to be posted. People used to write, you need to have this qualification, that qualification, right? Now nobody even talking about the qualification. It is all about, do you really know your stuff, right? Do you really crafted, have you as a person crafted your own career, which has some clear objectives? If that is clear, you'd be also doing things or gaining experiences around that. And once you start doing that, the hiring managers are dying to hire, I can tell you, because I know how many people I'm hiring right now. It's just that I don't have a lot of people in front of me we can hire, right? That's been the case for, and you'll be frustrating to see like how many interviews we do. I've been doing probably possibly 5,000 plus interviews by now. I was a bar raiser interviewer in Tesco. I've done 5,000 plus interviews. And it is silly, out of 5,000 plus hours of interview, probably only 1%, 2% are able to actually get a job. and it is never about industry. Right? Small example of a person. So there's a guy who is a very close friend of mine. He has turned into a friend. I hired him from Walmart. Right? He was doing retail stuff in Walmart, but I didn't hire him for that work. Actually, he did in Walmart. Right? I hired him in Tesco for a completely different area. So I told him first thing, you should unlearn whatever you learned there, because if you come with a baggage, that will become the biggest problem for you. So short summary is, I think by all these examples, and he's now in Google. He's doing GCP in Google Cloud, from Tesco directly. Think about it. Right? And Google interviewed him for a L4 role. They offered him a L5 role after that. You can check out his, he gave me a recommendation in LinkedIn. You can check out his name. I will not reveal his name now. But anyway, so I think the main focus is, but the question is very important question what you asked, because that actually associates with the slide very well for me. Earlier, when you are playing with these three areas only, right? You ask anybody, you go to YouTube, search 5-year videos, you will see people will explain product management means business, tech, and customer. Then you need to become an industry expert. God can only help you, right? So now you'll see, if you can apply your learnings in all these areas, then you become a product manager. So product manager, what is the product manager's real role? Let's understand that. So a lot of recruiters will come to me and say, okay, right, can you please give me a job description for a head of product? I said, please, mat karo. Please no. I said, if you can't figure it out now, you should not ask me. Now, this might be rude for some people, right? But the question is whether you are a head of product or product manager, at a platform, at a very bottom, like if I draw a platform and then I say, okay, application SaaS, the core of the skills of a product manager are actually 3 skills, only 3 skills. You should own the vision of the product. You should market your product. I'm not saying you should go to LinkedIn and keep posting. That is not market. I'm saying you should become the voice of the customer, voice of the product. And the third is you should manage your ROI. Very simple 3 principles. You can learn n number of frameworks, right? You can tell me I have learned RISE, reach, impact, confidence, effort. I learned XYZ. I have learned Moscow. I have learned PANU, many models, right? End of the day is all about ROI management. And you'll be surprised to see no product has ever failed because of priorities. How surprising is that? Have you ever heard a CEO telling, "Oh, we had prioritized something else last year. That's why we were unable to deliver the revenue." Have you ever heard any AGM, any company's meeting, where they said, "My product teams did something else. That's why we failed this year"? Has that ever happened in the industry? But so much emphasis on this, right? Because I think this is a very common thing anybody will learn. So, what is vision really? So, if somebody really manages the vision, what is vision? First is building the vision. You have to create a vision which you understand first. Then you want to make sure that vision is well understood by everybody in the company. And you'll be surprised, this in 2022, everybody has a point of view about product. Why did I say it? Even a customer success person might say, okay, I want product should be like this, right? You may not have to become a product manager. You'll see a sales VP, he would come and say, product, look, the product hi kharab hai. The product should be like this. A supply chain head will come and say, okay, product should be like this. Do they have the domain expertise? They don't, but they have opinion. So then, if you don't respect them or collaborate with them, your vision will be like a vision on the paper, right? So then it is your job to be able to break through and explain them what is product management. What is really the vision, right? That takes time. That takes art of explaining, right? That takes understanding of what do they do. What are the things they do in their day to day. If you really understand their job, if you observe them, then you can easily explain them, isn't it? मतलब उसको वही बेचो जो उसका काम में आने वाला है. When, right?
Basically, go at their level of work and
Exactly,
then explain
right?
them.
Now, product management, if you really look at it, you say, okay, I have done discovery, I have wrote a PRD, I have done product strategy. तुमने strategy बना के अपने पास रखा है, and that strategy you only explain to your boss. How does that help? it doesn't really help, right? If your boss and your peers are celebrating that product strategy and nobody in the organization knows about the product strategy, and by the time you build the product, then you go with the sales team and you go sales enablement, so it is already you're late in the market, right? So that's why I'm saying no product has ever failed because of prioritization. About people's intent, it is same for career also, because you are a product of your own. If your intent is clear, if your objective is clear, you will land what you want to do, right? It's very clear. So that means product managers need to become as a role to play on the sales.
I have a question. So, what you said now,
Yeah.
Suma.
Yeah.
So, you mean to say that when the product vision starts or the birth of the product starts, right? We should start beating about and telling everyone involved in the stakeholder that hey, something like this is coming your way. Keep watching and
Basically,
be
start building a sort of a community of support. It
support.
makes sense, right? So instead of, I mean, I'm not saying go promise something to sales, because how
Ah, of
if
course
any of
not.
you are from B2B, you know, if you even have a rumor to sales, they will start selling it. Nothing against them. They want revenue, right? So they will do that. So I'm saying build an association of people. In any company, you will see from every function, there will be some people who would be interested in what you're doing. You just have to have the eye. Start recruiting them with your idea. Then you build an association of support. And it is very important as a leader. And if you are able to do that in the room, then you become a people manager of product. As simple as that, right? So
Yeah.
that's how you advance. So basically, if you start pivoting on these skills, right, and if you start learning these skills as early as possible in the job, you'll start to see the result becoming different for you.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the strategy part. So whatever you just said, right? Build the strategy and start educating all the stakeholder, means all the teams associated with that. Once you are trying to build a strategy, and question comes to the technology front, you are from completely different technology or something different. You don't have backbone of it. So how you going to deal with that? Let's say you are from, let's say, more to the techies from the IT, or and you need to going to work on some automotive company where is the backbone is automobiles and all. You don't have much idea at all, but you need to build the strategy. So how then you are going to build that, ensure that things are in proper so people can take your words?
Absolutely. No, I get the question. And I think, probably in many more examples, I'll explain this. Um, but very simply, if you're building something for somebody, you're building something for a user, right? Ultimately, what is the product strategy? Can anyone tell me what product strategy is? Some thought, if any of you can share.
Forward-looking intent.
How do you actually step by step show that it's like step by step to explain that okay, this is my phase one, phase two.
That is the roadmap.
Product
Right
But you are
from
strategy.
close.
yeah, right from value proposition to the
Strategy is how
positioning
you
it.
are approaching the market, right? So considering your competitors and all, so how are you going to approach the market? That's the
I,
strategy.
That is very, very close. Yeah.
what do we want to deliver? How do we want to deliver, and when do we want to bring it to the market?
Very, very close. Hmm. Right.
So, in my opinion, maybe it's the is the users' jobs to be done? Are we able to meet their jobs to be done? We relieve their pains and create gains.
But that is also kind of like a definition of done. Yeah, I mean, whatever the feature or the story
But
at
not
that level.
necessarily, right? Unless you clearly know what is their core
So
job.
you're talking about the
If you're
core
just
job,
building
discovering the core job.
features and not really
Hmm.
adding value to them,
Hmm.
that doesn't matter.
Right. So to some extent, I think what has happened, I think in this room, all of you kind of answered the question. And if we aggregate everything, you'll get the answer. That is the interesting thing, right? So basically, I think I will try to shorten it up and move fast. I think because we need to cover few, I wanted to cover a few interesting things for you guys. But what is product strategy? Product strategy is how a customer all the way, how the customer even access your product, how you're going to get the product to the customer. What is your business model? Business model doesn't mean you need to become a pricing expert, right? Because you already have a pricing expert in the company. So whether you're an automobile person or even supply chain guy, even a backend guy, you have to figure out what is the itch for the user, right? Or in SaaS, we use the word hook for the user to get the fish, right? And what is the itch you have to use the product? Like bar bar aap log, things hota hai, right? Go and let's grab the phone. So this is the product, right? So this is the itch of using it. What is the itch? So somebody has marketed this. You don't have to become a marketing expert for this. So it really starts with the user pain point. And if you focus on, when you're building product strategy, if you can focus on polarized approach, either start solving user pain point and start solving delights. Don't do the same thing what others do. A lot of products you'll see in the market, and I'm sure it happened in the industry. Oh, this product used to be like this. Like a lot of companies go through a lot of migration. So if you're building a new technology, let's say you're building a new API platform. I'm just giving a technical example so that you can associate. Now, earlier you used to use some kind of old school technology. Let's say in Tesco, they used to use Oracle for retail merchandising, price, and all that promotion. And I completely changed that. In 18 months, we launched in 7 different countries. We launched ClubCut Plus all in 18 months. People were shocked. We launched in 6 months, which ripped it off completely. So we had a product strategy. How to go about, how to rip it off, put that with, and have a maximum user impact, right? A business will always look for your end user will not care whether you are building this in a mainframe system or you're computing the price on a Google server. How does that matter? Tell me, right? It doesn't really matter, right? So if you can focus on the user, I think that is the mind shift. I know you have the technical, understanding. I come from that same world. What I'm saying is just hold on for a minute. Think about when you go buy some product, right? Let's say I go buy a car. I'd be interested to know whether they have done auto self assembling of the car, whether factory may, if they have any people or is automated, all that is cool stuff. But end of the day, I would like to have a good car, right? Which is safe. So all I'm saying is that is the mind shift one needs to have. You need to unlearn a bit. Whatever you have learned for so many years, techie, tech is all about execution, right? And even product management requires a lot of execution, but the style of the execution is different. Product management execution is not go through the backlog and just start executing user stories. That is the biggest crime I've seen in product management. What they tend to do, they capture requirements, start finishing it off, and then go to their boss after a year and say, why are you not giving me a raise? Why did not I meet the expectation? Why did not I exceed the expectation? Because you exactly did what that engineer would have done. If the engineer would have been a little bit business savvy, you would have done exactly the same thing. That is not product management. So what you have done is a 15% of the product manager's job, which is about capturing user stories, capturing user intent, executing the user intent. That is still not execution. Execution means after you executed that for the end user, that is also part of your product strategy. What is that you wanted to improve? I think one of you mentioned about building something which is a ROI. You mentioned about a roadmap, which is a phase. Eventually, you try to talk about outcomes. Means after the roadmap, it should deliver some good, whether efficiency, like you have mentioned, jobs to be done. So all of you have touched on those points: profitability, acquisition of user. Now you have executed. You should experiment that execution, isn't it? Experimenting means what? You have to experiment what you have already shipped, and then you have to analyze it. And again, pivot. This doesn't
So
require a techie at all.
go to our some of the customer and give them to sit and say that and what is
But
the
see,
feedback.
but see, I think that is devil is in the detail, right? And I'm sure you'll be learning all those things in IPL and more classes, right? They'll cover it. But I think the main focus is instead of what they would be teaching you, I would like to sort of share a few important points. I think the main point is product strategy involves in every product stage on the every product life cycle. You need to have a strategy for discovery. You need to have a strategy for product market fit. You need to have a strategy for pricing model. You need to have a strategy for roadmap. So even in the roadmap, a lot of people might be very safely playing it. They'll be saying, okay, I want an MVP when my engineers can ship everything, right? Because I'll be facing the heat of the business. Because sales guy will come and say, if you ship this, they will escalate. See, all these excuses will come, right? But if you have done your research well, so what is the research? So my focus is a product strategy only actually requires 50% of input from discovery to become a solid strategy. Strategy is about how do you go after the market, how do you go after the user base, whatever is the user, doesn't matter. Whether it is a business, customer, consumer, how they will use the product. After the product, they would use the product, how would you upgrade the product? How would you use them as a renewal? You have to renew the product, you need to generate revenue. And you'll see a lot of product, a lot of companies initially, early days, they don't make money. That is part of the strategy. Initially, they like to capture some part of the market. That is
Acquire customers.
that is also product strategy. Yeah. Now, they will also have a roadmap. I'm sure all of you have seen roadmap, which is only product roadmap. But you need to take a step above and build a roadmap. If I do this XYZ things in my roadmap, whether feature or product itself, I'll be able to start monetizing it and start getting money. That is also part of your product strategy. Even retirement of a product is also a product strategy of a company, right? So see, if you are doing things, your vision testing, mission, goal, objective, OKRs, your roadmap deliveries, everything should marry with your product strategy very clearly. So what happens is when you, for that example, if you don't have any experience on building product strategy, initially the roles you land is a product manager role. You learn a lot. You learn with some seniors. You learn with some experts or peers who have already done it. Then you move up, right? You become a senior PM, a principal PM. Then you are actually not just talking about product strategy. You are actually directly impacting company strategy. The role changes, right? So that is how it is. But end of the day, I think for this slide, what I wanted to explain, the shift need to become paradigm shift. Instead of three areas, look broad, learn deep things, deep problems, and build your own brand. When I say that, it's not about going to LinkedIn and getting a lot of friends. It's about among all this, which one you're good at, right? Each of you are good at something, right? So figure that out for yourself. So I think this slide I'll skip it because all of you we have done enough survey in this class through the process. We have seen generally three backgrounds of people, right? Either tech savvy, generalist, and business. I sometimes love the generalist also because they actually have open mind. They neither are from business, neither from tech. So they will actually learn everything. It just helps to teach them. And so sometimes polarized thinking on product might be difficult. But when we are looking at a dream career, a sustainable career, when you're building one career, each of you have done something in the past, either sales, either business development, either marketing, either customer success or tech. Now that may or may not have an influence in what I'm going to say here, right? So I have noticed around the world, there are three types of people in product management when I observe them, and they show this behavior, this tendency, right? You will see a lot of product managers or your colleagues in the companies, they will be having this tendency. If you tell them some story, even a humor, they will say, "मैं जाके बना लेता हूँ इसको. I'll put this in the backlog." So they have this mindset of building. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And they might be able to also build very fast. They have this mindset of risky behavior. Go build it, test it, we'll figure it out. That is totally cool in today's world, actually. So there is a person of builder's mindset. But if these builders don't have customer empathy, what is customer empathy? Ask questions. Don't give them the answers, right? Just listen to them. Yeah. That is the hardest part, I'm telling you. Especially from tech or any industry, when you make a switch, sales mein kya hota hai, you have to have a point of view, have thick skin, otherwise customer will never buy what you're trying to sell them, right? Because I do a lot of selling. I talk to a lot of customers, right? So it is very natural. Once you kind of move up in the ladder, you have to start doing sales at a different level. But the point is that customer empathy is the very key. So builders have this mindset of customer empathy. They are very good at prioritization. And then eventually you see they'll go into a lot of details very, very soon. if you are in a conversation with them, they have this tendency, they will say, let me start drawing it up. They will start getting into the act. Nothing bad. This is one nature. Then there is a tuner attitude. And I'll tell you how these three people is required by all companies, why it is a dream. So you must pursue. I mean, I have never seen people outside this bucket, but if there are, I'm open to hear. But there is a builder mentality, there is a tuner mentality. Tuners are people who are usually hired to either ingest growth. So let's say there is a flat crop, there is a product where they have done all the job, they have done everything in the world, hardly any adoption is there for the users because they have basically built what already people have built. So neither they solved any pain point, neither they have solved the delights. So of course there is no customers for them. So tuners come, they're very analytical. They look at the customer's usage pattern, they look at the trends. They say, okay, you know what? I will not build things. I will just throw some experiments in next 2-3 months. After I get successful in the experiments, I will then figure out a roadmap. And their bosses are like, fine, do it. Because anyway, this product is not doing any adoption. And they have this hypothesis driven, right? Mentality of hypothesis driven. So there are few FANG companies, or even in JIO, we do it a lot. Be a big believer of, instead of perfecting how watch party, because when I mentioned about watch party in 3 days, can you do something in 3 days and put it in production and expect 20 million people are using it in perfectly same, in a perfect world? Whichever engineer you use, whichever product manager you hire, they are bound to have a lot of gaps, right? So from the leadership team, we are very fine with that. We're totally okay. Because that's how you have done things, right? When we launch our broadband services, we learn from it. But we absolutely have top-notch quality now. So the idea is to hire a lot of tuners who would come in and have this mindset of building things. But they are very hypothesis driven. Means they will not give 20 ideas. They will say, instead of 20 ideas, I will only focus on seeing whether watch party in India has appetite. Or is that only a pattern from Netflix or Amazon Prime? Or if I am a provider, as long as I have watch party, people will use it. So they have drawn some hypothesis. They have tested their hypothesis and people started adopting it. Once they have seen their behavior after 4th day, 5th day, they started improving the product. So tuner then had a mindset of, instead of focusing on roadmap, they listen from the customers, customer experiments. Even these guys also do, but they talk to the customers. There is a behavior change. So tuners are often hired for B2C companies most of the times. And builders are, you will see, mostly hired for B2B companies. Right? So B2B mein kya hota hai? When you go talk to the actual end customer, they will tell you, this is what I want. Sales will come and tell you, this is what the field wants. Product manager will build it. Yeah. So this is not prioritization. Prioritization. So this is not prioritization. This is we're talking about 3 PM paths one can take. Yeah. So what we're talking about is, when we are doing ruthless prioritization, means if you're doing a B2B product, in B2B what happens, mostly the company is pretty clear. From the top leadership till the bottom, the CEO says, we are going to focus on this market. The entire company start pivoting around it. Sales go test the sales. They figure out, okay, is there an appetite? The sales start publishing the information to the marketing and the product team. Product team is very ROI focused. They say, okay, these are all the technical details, but this will take time. They start doing trade-off with you. They say, I will give you this feature, and you will say, okay, I'll give you $100 million. I'll give you $100,000, right? So very ruthless in that sense. But for B2C, you cannot anticipate the market ahead of time. In B2C, kya hota hai? You will have a broad TAM. But let's say if you're doing a 10 minutes delivery of startup with a Blinkit or similar Instacart, right? How do you prioritize that ahead of the time? You can only prioritize the MVP and truly experiment as fast as you can, because your focus is on not burning too much cash. So you want to hire analytical ninjas who have this mind. Again, I'm not saying analytical ninjas, I'm not talking about data scientists. I'm talking about people who can say, if I do X, Y could happen. And they would keep on looking at that X and Y very clearly, right? So that's what it meant. So their prioritization in this case keeps changing, keep evolving very fast. Now think about B2B. since you have mentioned also B2B you have worked on, let's say you are on the field, you're in the plane in California, I changed the roadmap and you started presenting to the customer because I got some signal from the market that this will not work. Just imagine the impact in the entire company. But for B2C, it is, and this keeps happening every day because market and user behavior changes every day. So we have a joke across the product world. For the consumers, we say there is no loyalty. For companies, there is loyalty because consumers only do things which directly benefit them. Today, Gmail comes and tell me you can only have 5 GB data, I will just delete it. I will say, okay, fine, whoever gives me 20 GB data, I will take it along with search. Very simple, right? It's about not loyalty, it's about loyalty. But for a B2B business, they will be sticking to Google or Microsoft because they are very clear what they want to achieve, right? So here, slow prioritization is okay, right? Innovators. Innovators are very interesting kind of people, right? Because ultimately these are hard to find, right? And they will have this each of experimenting. So what I've seen in the innovators, there is two things they have very solid, clear clarity. One is what is the market need, and they will have very strong opinion in the innovators. They might go to a sales pitch and say, I will change your sales pitch completely. You are doing it completely wrong. Means they have so good understanding of the customer base, they might be doing some sales also if required to get their understanding. So innovators don't follow any practical framework, right? So these people, I'm not saying you have to become in one of these three. But the point is, all of us have certain skill set. You have to figure out which behavior is your behavior. Because instead of mastering all three, because we have no time is limited, right? Let's master one of them and become real master of it. Instead of mastering all three. Now think about if Cisco do A/B testing, how does it help? Hardware है, hardware में आप A/B testing करके करोगे क्या? Right? Because even if you do like automobile, if you do A/B testing in an automobile, you can do it on an EV car, quite possible. But in car you do A/B testing, would you actually take those car back and change it? Impossible, right? So, so a good set of team, any team requires in today's world, in SaaS world, you need to have this a good balance of three types of product managers. And if you look around your colleagues in your company, you will see there will be people who will be falling under this intuition. They have this feeling of intuition. They don't talk to a lot of users. So they have market understanding, but they believe on trends. They don't go talk to the customers. So there's a lot of intuition plays. Like Steve Jobs, you have been talking about, I think you're a fan, and even I am a fan. So Steve Jobs figured out they should do an Apple iPhone or even a MacBook. Did he go and ask the user that should you design a MacBook which will be this sleek, you'll be proudly using it, the phone will be so stable, right? You will never have a security issues and stuff like that, right? Brilliant user experience. No, it's about product intuition, right? But every team has interest in all three areas, is what I'm trying to say. And it's not like you have to go pick it up, but it is important to pick up your own strength among these three. It is the key to your success. Let me just grab some water. So I will probably wrap it up in another 3-4 slides and start taking some questions. No, it's fine. I'm especially this late. So I would like to actually start getting into the real meat of advancing career because that's what we are all for, right? I mean, we are all interested to ROI. So what is the main difference between an IC, a director role, a VP role, or a CPO role, right? I'm sure all of you, or you have seen a lot of colleagues who might be having this feeling that this person got this promotion or this person do what role, what do? I have a good understanding of the user. I have been shipping so many features, but I am still an IC and this person is a director or a GPM. Suppose that. That is a fact. So let's learn what are the skills we really need to play these roles and what is the skill you need to play an IC, right? One good thing in India before we get into that, today IC role is very well respected in India. Even if you're a principal or a senior principal, you have as much as right as a VP. Because ultimately, if you can prove your point with the hypothesis or data or your customer research, people will not throw your opinion away, right? Directly CEOs board are interested in that person, right? So it is not about you have to follow a path. So these slides are not going to represent about what you should do in your career. This is all about my perspective about how I have seen the world, especially a difference between 4 dimension of product management. Because we also talked about product strategy. So see, in this whole journey, I have never talked about roadmap so far. So there are 4 buckets what I have seen among product managers or in product leaders, which keeps changing as they keep growing into the role. One is the product scope, one is the trust and collaboration, team building, and strategy. Right. So these two are going to be common. And these two is also common, but you are probably as an IC, you are doing it at a team level. You're building trust at a team level, your impact is within a team. If you're a director, you are doing it across all your product teams. If you're a VP, you are building trust who are reporting, all your reporting directors and your peers. Because end of the day, let's say you are a CPO or a head of MyJio or some super app. Now, one of the VPs are delivering advertisement feature. One of the VPs delivering recharge or payment, JioPay or Google Pay, something like that. Somebody is delivering Google Meet. Now you are the vice president. All these director or VPs are building many features. Now let's say everybody do it differently. What will be the user experience? Right? So that's why the rules start changing. Means all I'm saying is a product manager is a product manager. Doesn't matter what is their job title. Eventually, even if they're CPO or even CEO also, they are a product manager. So there are some common skills which are very common among all these roles, right? So given all of your IC, and we have been discussing about IC for so long, we have been discussing about all IC tracks so far. So now we'll start to get into the people track of it, right? Advancing people's career, because we sold the job enough that this is the 21st century's most exciting job, because all of you like to go to office, especially for the problem you're solving, you're excited. So I think we have a table there now. So on the product scope, for a director role, usually the roles are very well defined, right? Whether some company might call them, let's say, in a Microsoft or maybe in a Google, a GPM could be a director in Flipkart, as an example, at equivalent level, right? So but their product area is very well defined, what they'll be doing. So they will be able to execute independently. That's what I meant by well defined. They're not blocked by others, right? So if they are building JioPay, they will do just JioPay. They don't care about cinema, other stuff. They just focus on pay. For a role for a vice president, they will be dealing with many products, right? Naturally, they'll be having, so vice president equivalent could be in many companies, head of product, maybe head of products. So again, these days the titles are so blurry, right? Sometimes people might make you feel good by giving a title, but end of the day, head of product is basically where you can completely control the user behavior by shipping a product which is intent is to achieve a product market fit. So you can actually deliver product market fit. If your job is you're only able to control few parts as a head of product, then you're probably not a head of product. As simple as that, right? But understand this, it is very important when you're looking at advancing your career. It's like climbing a mountain, right? So have you seen like any building? I stay in somewhere around 26th floor. So from 26th floor, I have a lot of clarity when I look down. Sorry, I have no clarity, but I can see a lot of area, right? But I lack clarity. So when you're IC, you have a lot of clarity because you have the data in your fingertips, you know all information, right? And some of you also talked about risk-taking behavior ambiguity. So if anyone you are planning for advancing your career, you have to have this mentality to let loose on details sometime and trust the people, which means you have to hire good people and manage their careers so that you know manage their work. Don't question their work, but manage their careers, because you will not be able to see the detail, right? How do I know? How do I get the detail? The guy who lives in the first floor, he has a lot of details. I don't have any detail. I have the trajectory to see more things. So it is almost like a mountain. So as you keep growing, right, in this role, so same happens for a CPO or a VP. So they get to see or they get to set a vision at the high level. They're still focusing on metrics and stuff at a very high level. But let's say for metrics for me, Could be something like, I want to see 30% product innovation from JIO every year, which can get me 20 million users, net new users, right? Because our goals are very aggressive. We are like 500 million right now. So we are 450 million last quarter. Right now we are 500 million. So 50 million. So for us, 50 million, 60 million is like very normal goals in every quarter, right? So therefore, innovation must happen. So then I need to hire a lot of innovators. That is why I was talking about that slide. So now you'll be able to associate. But see, when I do that, am I going to go hire all these people? Probably not. Because how many interviews I'm going to do? I might be able to hire the senior leadership. That means I need to be able to build capabilities. And same goes for you. So when you're a director, you need to be able to first manage IC careers really well, which means you need to first build your career really well, streamline it, and then you need to be able to apply the same process for them. So managing people's career, managing managers, right? So as a director, a lot of companies, you might be managing other managers who might be managing other product managers, right? But here, as you start moving, you will see you don't control their vision, and you need to let it be sometimes. So that means you need to have the mentality to let it go, live with ambiguity, because what is, and this is not easy, I'm telling you. So all I'm saying is, as you move up, this is fun when your ambiguity means in my product I have some ambiguity, tomorrow I can solve it. That is very easy. But somebody below me not giving me clarity, it is not easy. It's not fun. So if you are able to live with that and trust the system, have the right potential, right talent, then these roles are for you. So fundamentally, VP roles, you need to, or a director role, you need to be able to set vision statement, mission statement, OKR, talk to the sales. So your peers are VP sales, director sales, the sales guy who is actually facing the customer hit. You need to go solve their problem, right? So focus on basically your goals changes completely from the product to other domains as a vice president. As a director, your focus becomes still product focused, but you are focusing more on applying that focus for your peers. So building relationship, building deep problems, experiments. So that's how your shift happen on the product scope.
Yeah, just to add one point, like the OKR you brought it up, right? So this has been very much the current organization I work. We work like that. It drill down from the senior VP to the director and so on.
Right. 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 And in that process, you will see that every team might have a slightly different process of how they build products. They might have a different prioritization techniques. But why do you care? Because you cannot control everything, right? So as a director, you have to cut loose. Now, in terms of trust and collaboration, here when you're looking at these roles, so these are some core skills because we're talking about product strategy, product scope, trust and collaboration, and team building. So here at a director level, so all of you would say, and you've probably noticed your colleagues who are that they're very comfortable taking shots or making decisions when they have lots of data in front of them, right? It is easy. You have a lot of data, you're convincing people, and you're able to take the shots. But as you grow in a leadership role, you have to be very comfortable to take the shots with less amount of information, right? So that is also an art of director role. So as you start to become a director, then what happens is you are focusing on, you don't have real information because you don't know really that consumption for, let's say, some product might have daily active users or some retention goals. Now, how do you control that? Because you have to trust the system. You might have some bigger roadmaps, objectives, but as long as your team is able to focus on those lines and able to execute, you have to have some intuition, which is where you can go back to the previous slide where we talked about tuners, innovators, and builders. So as you start moving, shifting right from IC to product to other roles, you have noticed why I mentioned this. You need to have a mindset from a builder to a tuner, from a tuner to an innovator. It's very, very important. Because if you stick to the builder mindset, you will go into the detail. You will go and ask your IC, who is a senior IC, you'll say, change the prioritization because I'm telling you, I'm the boss. I believe in this. then you'll actually don't want to work for you. Very clear, right? So all I'm saying is then you need to focus on experiment, hypothesis, culture, building real culture, right? So data-driven decision making. If you do all of these things, you're able to influence a larger part of the organization, right? So you'll see VPs will never come and give random statement to the in their all hands. They're very practical. They'll come with preparation, they'll present it, but your hands-on manager or a director might give you by their intuition, they might react in a team setting. But a VP will be very clear. They'll say, okay, let me come back to you. Let me think a little bit. So all I'm saying is here the focus is more on influence rather than immediate response, right? So as you move to the from a VP to a extremely senior level, the focus become more on organization building. So then what you do, you basically get the executives to build a trustable system. That's where the OKR comes in. OKR is one. A lot of companies follow SMART, right? Measurable goals, basically, right? A lot of companies say, I want, but ultimately what happens is when they do this at a company level, it is very difficult to control it at a team level. A team might be comfortable doing something, but everybody, as long as they're able to hit the notch on the OKR objectives, that is clear. Because they know that if I hit the OKR, then top down, everybody respect their objective, achieve the result, and everybody are on the same page. It builds trust, right? I think Michael Jordan has a very good point, right? And this applies for product management also, right? Which is, if you are playing in championship, you are not, you should not focus on a individual sport, and that is again the biggest shift from a IC role to a management track, right, or a leadership track, because you are not looking at championship. So you have to build teams, you have to build capabilities, right? You have to focus on deep problems, right? We have this great quote, which is talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships, right? So if you are focusing on advancing your career, then you should focus on building teams, right? So that's why team building. Now, this might be surprising, but some of you who are people manager, for them it is very normal, natural, right? Because you spend a lot of time on team building, connecting with individuals. Those skills are very transferable skills when you're looking for a PM leadership track. Because more than IC, you have to listen to people, listen to customer problems. And that's, I think those people naturally become fit for the next level. Sometimes you'll see a lot of peers do a parallel shift also, right? They do a product course, do some incubator capstone, and then directly from engineering manager, switch to a GPM or a LPM. A lot of companies allow that, right? I'll move a little fast forward, but then here, just two things. As you move from a, so basically, I think we spoke enough on the director side, but on the, as you move up as a senior director or VP, the focus becomes how do you hire the right executives who have these behaviors? And that's where hiring becomes very difficult, right? Because how do you make sure you hire those senior people who have that empathy for team building, trust, creating the culture? And if you ask them, like a lot of people in the introduction will tell you, I have done this XYZ, I have delivered 20x, 30x, 40x growth, right? It's very natural, right? It very naturally comes. Do all of them land very senior roles? Sometimes they don't, right? They might be good for hyperscaler companies, but enterprises, large companies, they don't hire them in those senior roles because they might be so focused on results that they are no longer going to produce. They will just keep on producing builders. And we talked about three key tracks: builders, tuner, and innovators. So if you do not give space for those three to coexist, then you will not become a leader, because you become a leader who are just kind of executing their own agenda, right? That is the key. And I think we have spoken a lot on the, I believe, on the product strategy. But I have a very simple analogy. Director does seeding. So as a director, and with this slide, I think we'll wrap it up. They do seeding. What I mean by seeding, when they're at the director level, they focus on plantation. Right? A vice president focus on building a garden. Right? So many plants. Right? Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. And as a CPO, you are actually now building garden as a service, if I may so sorry, folks from SaaS. you are actually kind of creating more gardens, more VPs who can creating more gardens for you, right? I think that can summarize your thought process, which means as a CPO, you need to be good at storytelling because your CEO would meet you. So I report to somebody who calls the shot in JIO for us. So that means he will have a strong opinion, right? And if you need to have an opinion and if you need to protect the product team, then you need to be very clear what exactly JIO or any company should do in next 1 to 3 years, right? Here, the product strategy, what happens, and again, because you mentioned about roadmap, I think you are highlighting roadmap. As a CPO, you are always focusing on roadmap for tomorrow. As a day after tomorrow, you are always looking at the future. As a VP, you are focusing on building great roadmaps, not by yourself, by building, enabling others who can create great roadmaps. So the company has a clarity and trust. As a director, you are building and executing the roadmap, right? You stay in the car. And the director owns the product strategy. The VP owns the company's this year's strategy. The CPO owns the strategy for next 3 years to 5 years. Hopefully that summarized. Thank you so much for your patience, but I think it's been an interesting session for me as well because all of you have been very interactive. So thanks a lot, especially late in the day. And my final sort of key point is that remember one thing. This is the secret sauce I have sort of used in last 16 years. This is the hardest part because all the tiredness come in. Um, you know, uh, Being able to bias for action, I call it, right? Ultimately, people who are kind of tired or because when you are doing a lot of experiments or product management, you're bound to hit a lot of failures. It is going to happen, right? But if you have the secret source of user empathy, not just for the customer, for your colleagues, for your stakeholders, people will notice you. Right? I mean, otherwise, how do you get promoted in every job in 3 to 4 months? What do you do? Right? How can you shift things in 3 to 4 months? It is impossible, right? So there must be some pattern which is really user empathy. I believe in that, right? So because that has been my milestone for my career, and I have got one small gift for you guys. So if you want, I mean, I'll send the slide to Sunny and yourself, and you can probably share it. So you guys can download the Kindle version for free. But if you want to buy it, you can get a 10K club discount if you wish. And these books, I will strongly inspire. I'll request you to maybe take note. And I'm sure all of you are reading these books or somewhere associated. And you'll see all these books somehow are explaining the same topic here, right? Yeah. So whether it is lean analytics, I think Inspired is a great book, but you need to have a lot of patience to read it. And if you want like a quick 2 3 days read, maybe 2 days nugget size. When I wrote the book, I focused on how do I write the book in less than 90 or 100 pages, so that if I give it to my friend, he can associate himself and say, okay, this is what product management is, this is what I should devote. So in 90 page, we are able to do the job. But I strongly recommend these books because these books have really been very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Selfie time, right?
Yeah. Firstly, Suman, thank you so much. Very insightful, especially the way you painted the picture about each role and what is the difference, and also the attributes of each role, right? Like trust and collaboration and every aspect. Are very nice. Thank you very much. Um, I was talking to one of the senior PM yesterday, and he said there is, if you're a technical product manager, that's more sought after. I want to understand how much of a uh, how much of a importance that technology plays into becoming a product manager, or why is that sort of in comparison to product management?